we can just sit here on these boxes. Maybe if we just, because then we can have a bit of better conversation, the two of you. The second part of the session is a kind of brainstorm. Because I have a kind of a case. Yeah, I think it's actually the conversation is between you. So maybe if you could sit here, Charles. And David, you could sit here. And I'll just be walking around you so you can sit, the two of you. Is that okay? Or you prefer that one? Okay, you can keep that one if you like. But, so you're in the middle of the stage. Because I'll be walking around you and making some illustrations. Yeah. So I have a design concept. I have chewing gum. It's very annoying. Which is just like a sketch of a new idea for a new project, but it's not much more. It's just an initial phase. And what I wanted to do is to show you all this kind of initial idea. And I would like to ask the experts to comment on this and to build on this. And then I'll be making drawings, and then we can see if we can make this idea grow. Eventually, I think what the bottom line of the quest is how can we design, how can we use design and science to evoke more memory-based experiences? So it's not only about my case, I think that's the starting point, but eventually what I would like to ask you to talk about and build on is how can we use our specialisms to create something that can use memory, but I think memory and meaning is, because I think that's, as human beings, we are in the world, and we live and we eat and we sleep and we do lots of stuff. But eventually, and then we die. And I think eventually what we are looking for is adding meaning to our lives, and I think that's why we value memory so much, because I think that is what makes us human. That is what gives us, when we grow old, that's what gives us the backbone of our lives. It's not like maybe not even the things we have achieved, it's the memories that we own that define us. So, yeah, that's what I would like to talk about. So my case, I don't know if you can actually see it with this thing here. Can you? It's a project I did a while ago, working with a fragrance and flavor company called IFF. And they asked me to be an accidental perfumer. So I'm a designer, I'm not a perfumer, but I was accidentally still a little bit. And searching into all the techniques that they have and trying to find a new way of looking at their field of work of flavor and fragrance. And what I found interesting is that they have a building with a head entrance, and one side is the flavors, and the other side is the fragrances. No, the scents. Flavors. Yes. The scents, the fragrances, and the flavors on the other side, and they never mix. Well, in the middle is the canteen, but even in the canteen they're not mixing. And I thought that's so fascinating, because exactly there in the middle, that's what I think we find the interesting thing. So I was thinking about food and eating and flavors, and how we only eat what we consider food. Well, not even with the Greek basil, maybe. But when I smell things, sometimes, I have this certain kind of perfume, and sometimes I think, I like it so much, I want to drink it, because it's just, I really want to have it inside my body, but it's obviously inedible. And I think we all know these kind of smells, like fresh mown grass, or cedar wood, or moss, or Sometimes even the smell of rain on dirt. Sometimes it smells so nice you think, oh, I would like to eat that. So I was wondering if we can actually make flavors, edible flavors, made from inedible smells, of smells of inedible substances. So I had a collection provided by IFF of fragrances that were flavors of inedible smells. And I tried to incorporate them in wood, in ceramic. So I had grass, wood, leather, tomato leaf, cotton, and clay. And I was thinking, what if we can incorporate ceramics or crockery or cutlery with these kinds of flavors and then combine them with real food? Then if you actually put them inside your mouth, you will have the sensation that you eat something which is in reality even undigestible or poisonous, but you will have the experiences as if you really eat them. So we did some tests with ceramics. It's really hard to impregnate ceramics with a smell, but eventually with wood it went really well, and then we started making food-smell combinations with these inedible flavors. And ideas for sets of cutlery, so you could actually make new pairings, so you actually add some new flavors to the existing palette of flavors of existing foods. So that's basically the idea. It's very simple and it's very not finished. It's really just a little start of a project. And yeah, and I would love to ask you to maybe comment on this, or Charles, is there something you think of when you see this?
Absolutely. I guess that intersection between perfumery and flavour is an interesting one. When thinking about what percentage of what we eat comes from taste or gustation, what's happening on the tongue versus from the aroma in the nose, that figure of 75 to 95% is just the smell, pops up with great regularity. And as such, maybe some of the flavorists will talk of, flavours as just the aromas, because it's so important. They think, who cares about the rest? I think about the Back to the Futurists yet again. In that Marinetti would be, some of the dishes to help people maybe eat a little bit less would be bringing them ready cooked from the kitchen and just wafting them under the diners' noses.
Did he intend to make people eat less? Did you just say that? He intended to make people eat less?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just filtering out an idea that you're just mentioning. So if you want to...
So using will food aromas, can they be used as a substitute for food consumption or as an aid to consuming less, either through just having, in the Marinetti case, and the Futurists, just having a meal coming perfectly prepared from the kitchen and being brought under the diners' noses and then taken straight back without anyone touching it? You get the aroma, do you get some of the pleasure without the calories? Through to work from the Netherlands recently, I guess, looking at in those, if you can make people more mindful of what they eat and get more of the aroma of food, I think orthonasally or retronasally, then people are satisfied with 10% less soup if they spend a bit more time thinking about the aroma, enjoying the aroma, getting the sensations. So I can see one route in here as a weight control tip. I see another route that if you look at people like Molecular, they also have fragranced forks, horribly designed, I think. Look ugly, but with a fork, tinny, with a hole in the middle, you put a filter paper in there that's been drenched in some synthetic odour. And you get a set of 50 odours, I think, or 20 odours for $50 and 4 spoons, 200 bits of filter paper. And there, the justification is not around eating less. It's more that if you're the home cook and you realise your guests have come to dinner and damn, you just forgot to add the ginger, well, there you go, get out the little ginger bottle, the filter paper, put it into this fork, and your diners will not know the difference. I'm not sure that's the way to sell it, but that's the way some people are using fragrance.
But these fragrances are then of known ingredients, but they could be anything.
Yes,
yeah.
So there are all things like, there's one example of somebody online talking about the caprese salad, and they've got the cheese, they've got the tomatoes, they haven't got the basil, and they go for the basil bottle. But the problem that people, when they experience it, they don't really experience it as a full salad. Maybe it's a matter of the perfumes not being of high enough quality. They sort of smell synthetic, thin, weak. And the very fact that I know that the scent is coming from my cutlery and not from the food, that seems to start priming notions of synthetic, artificial, chemical, that lead some people to say, no, I don't like that. I want the natural, the stuff that comes, the less processed instead. And that's where maybe I sort of see the design thing coming in, that I guess from the industry side, from the IFFs, the fragrance houses, from the PepsiCos, who have patents out there on not on cutlery with scent, but with bottles and cans that you can scent the closure, that you open your bottle of drink. It smells like a great drink. You're really smelling the plastic of the bottle, but maybe you'll think it's a flavor you're getting that's enhanced. When they do it, or when the Molecular do it, you sort of prime the notions of this synthetic smell, synthetic flavor. That's not a good thing. Whereas when the chefs do it, where you see people like, now dead, but Hamaru Kanto, when he had his curly Q cutlery, he was trying to have flavored cutlery, but that was just...
What kind of thing is that?
It's like just a regular fork, but with a curly Q handle, into which you can insert fresh herbs like lavender. And then you as the diner know that what you're smelling is coming from the cutlery, not the food, but you can sort of see the authentic, the natural source of that odor. Which maybe makes it more acceptable than if you can't, if it's a food company or a flavor house doing it. And the same if you look at other dishes where the chefs, I guess, are trying to use non-food odors to enhance the experience of a dish, to trigger memories or nostalgia, then they nearly always seem to have the source of that non-edible atmospheric scent visible. So in Grand Hacketts and Alinea, you would have the smell of burning leaves, not something I want to taste, but used to trigger nostalgia of childhood, autumnal days, and the recipes and the flavors that one might find there. Or think of kind of the dishes like sort of the moss, scent of moss, with a bit of dry ice, and you've got the smoke coming off the table, the smell of the moss again. It's not a smell that makes me want to eat it or lick the plate, but it's there to set a scene. You're maybe now in the forest in nature. But again, there's some real moss there on the table for you to attribute that ambient scent to. It's not displaced without a source.
Do you think there are also, so this is mostly in fine dining settings, do you think there's a way to, or do you think we should filter this down to culture, like in the more broader culture?
I sort of hope that what starts in the fine dining sort of a test bed of that kind of a very innovative and fast-changing space could percolate down. I don't suppose that the modernist chefs care so much about the waistline of their diners. If they did, they wouldn't put the ingredients in that they do. They care more about, the wow moment, that sort of theatrical, the magical, the spraying, the scent over the table kind of notion. Whereas when it gets translated to the home environment, I guess more people are interested in something, is it? But more people are kind of interested in maybe the sort of how can I eat less without spending all day feeling hungry.
Yeah.
And that sort of shift to a more intelligent use of food aromas to either make us satisfied, satiated with less, or even just to set the scene, to set the context, to set the memories of places, of time periods. And so by saying trigger emotions, and that in turn may make things taste better to you if you're in that certain state of mind, or if I've triggered the associations. And that could be where things like, I guess, the sort of the sound of the seafood dish from the Heston Blumenthal's The Fat Duck comes in. That can be where maybe something like Tony Conigliaro, a cocktail maker in the UK, he's got a rose cocktail that I'm kind of fond of. There's a glass of champagne with a
we have the picture, right?
with a sugar cube dosed in rose oil. Puts the sugar cube in the champagne. The sugar effervesces. It releases the scent of the rose, kind of trying to take you back to an English rose garden. The moods, the emotions, the memories that might be attached to that, and by so doing, that
I
kind of non-food odor.
I have to ask the technician for the right
Just people can imagine a glass of champagne with a sugar cube in it.
I can dry it.
Okay, even better.
So it's a glass of champagne with rose.
With a sugar cube in the bottom.
In the bottom. Yeah.
It's been soaked in rose. And as that dissolves and effervesces, it releases the rose scent into the ambient, into the atmosphere. And you're hopefully taken back to an English summer. And it's kind of the Provençal rosé recreated by the cocktail maker in a way. So hopefully that champagne will taste better to you. Not because the rose contributes necessarily to the flavour of the champagne, but you want to sort of set the scene. We don't really want to hack, I guess the cocktail maker doesn't want to hack the flavour of the champagne so much as rather set an ambient odour that sets the scene, that takes you somewhere, that reminds you of something, and against that backdrop then has the flavour of the drink that is enhanced through the association and the memory. And that sort of way of how do you segregate kind of the ambient odours, the context-setting odours, the memory-triggering odours, the often inedible odours from the thing that you want. And having the natural ingredients there, having the lavender, or sorry, having the rosemary in the cutlery helps. Having, say, Grand Hackett's, again, another dish, has sort of hyacinth flowers, pours hot water over, gives you the scent of the flowers and of summer again. I don't want that to interfere with your flavour, so I'll put the hyacinths there, separate from the dish itself of the food. And maybe the final example of trying to segregate it where it goes wrong for some people is, again, the Fat Duck, the latest menu for the final course, kind of counting sheep going to sleep. And it comes with a spoon that's much heavier than you think, because heavy things make things taste better. The spoon is covered in texture, a futurist touch, nice. And also the spoon's textured, furry, kind of sheepy handle is dosed in heliotropin aroma, so Johnson & Johnson's baby powder smell, essentially. Again, taking you back to childhood, triggering moods and emotions. Universally liked smell because of its associations to childhood memory.
So what kind of food is that?
But that doesn't work. It's just like a floating white thing in midair on a sort of very Buberesque round plate. And that works for some. The smell takes you back, maybe reminds you of something you can't remember quite what. But for others, some people on the internet are commenting now, I kind of integrated the flavour of the baby powder smell from the spoon into the taste of the dish. I really didn't like that. So there's kind of a failure of segregation between the ambient scene-setting scent and the food itself. And
I would think of changing diapers, I think. It's not maybe the best memory in combination with food.